Welcome to the Bible Study Together Daily Dive into Titus. I'm Peter Schrock, the founder of Bible Study Together and a life and marriage coach at togethertransform.com. We are in week 1 of our study, and this is the 5th day. In this video, I'll be going over the daily Bible questions and their answers. So let's get started. What questions do you have after reading Titus? So we've been reading through Titus for the last 5 days now. And as you've kind of gone through Titus, I'm sure there's different things that you've stood out to you, different things that brought some questions and whatnot, but we've just been focusing on the big, broader picture right now. And we'll later get into all those details. But it is good to be curious, to start thinking like, oh, what does this mean? Because we're going to keep covering into these things and diving into these. So, something for me that has stood out, a question that I've had, is why does Paul focus so much on good works? A lot of times I think we can often think about, focus on faith and not works and stuff like that, because I think we think about, we don't want to be legalistic. We don't want to, try and earn our salvation or different things like that. And so the focus often gets very strongly put on faith. But, at the same time too, a lot of what Paul is getting at here in Titus talks about their deeds, their works, the things that they do. And so, in this case, it's like, well, why? And that's kind of what I've been asking, why is that? So as I've been kind of diving into that, and considering that, what stood out to me is Galatians 5:6. So let's go over and take a peek at that real quick. So we are in Galatians chapter 5, verse 6. And it says, "For in Christ Jesus, neither circumcision nor uncircumcision counts for anything, but only faith working through love." So you see here, like what Paul's getting at is our faith expresses itself, it works, it does things in love. So there's this connection between our faith, our works, and love. And another verse that stands out to me too in that regard is the one in James in chapter 2. So here I am in James chapter 2, verse 14. It says, "What good is it, my brothers, if someone says he has faith but does not have works? Can that faith save him? If a brother or sister is poorly clothed and lacking in daily food, and one of you says to them, 'Go in peace, be warm and filled,' without giving the things needed for the body, what good is that? So also faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead." So I think this captures, the thing that I was kind of pondering about as I was going through Titus, about why is it that Paul seems to focus so much on works and deeds in here, when a lot of times he focuses a lot on faith. And so I think is what it is that there's nothing different. Our faith works itself out in love. And faith that isn't working, it isn't doing anything, is dead. So, as we grow in faith, it produces works in our life. And so I think that's why Paul is focusing so much on this. It's not about earning salvation or, trying to be legalistic or something like that. It's really about just living out our faith. And when we do that, it expresses itself in works and good things. What terms or phrases do not seem clear to you? I think for myself, one of these terms or phrases that was standing out to me that I was looking at, I was like, what does this word mean? Was actually in Titus chapter 1, verse 5. So let's go there and take a peek. When we look at this here, it says, "This is why I left you in Crete, so that you might put what remained in order and appoint elders in every town as I directed you." Now, the word elder is one of those words that I think I look at it times and it's like, what does that mean? Does that just mean an old guy or something like that? Or is it some kind of church leader? In some churches, we call people pastors. Some churches call them bishops. Some call them overseers. There's all these different words. And so, what is it that this elder is? Is it have to be an old person? Or can it be somebody younger? It's kind of one of those confusing things. So one of the passages that, as I was kind of digging and questioning this, that stood out to me was in 1 Peter chapter 5. And so let's go there. So here we are. 1 Peter 5, I'm just going to start right in verse 1. It says, "So I exhort the elders among you as a fellow elder and a witness of the suffering of Christ, as well as a partaker in the glory that is coming to be revealed. Shepherd the flock of God that is among you, exercising oversight, not under compulsion, but willingly, as God would have you, not for shameful gain, but eagerly, not domineering over those in your charge, but being examples to the flock. And when the chief shepherd appears, you will receive the unfading crown of glory. You who are younger, be subject to the elders." So here we go. What is an elder? I think this is the one passage that stands out to me more than anything else. So there's a couple things here. What we see is that we see the word elder in here, but then also we see shepherd. And so a shepherd is the same word that is used for pastor. So a pastor is a shepherd. So an elder is also a shepherd. And then it also shows here, it says exercising oversight. The word for oversight here is also the same basic word as overseer. So an elder is also an overseer and is also a shepherd. And what we can see at the end here, right in the context, is that Peter's talking and he's making a contrast. Likewise, you who are younger are to be subject to the elders. So I think in some ways, this is probably up for debate on this, but it's likely that these people are older than people who are younger. But at the same time, too, depending on your demographic of people, some people in your group might be all in a younger age bracket. So there's just some people that are older than the ones who are younger and such. And then at other times, there might be a big age bracket and stuff like that. But some people are older in the faith and some people are younger in the faith. Some people have become more mature and more developed and stuff. And so they would probably be considered older. So these are some things that I kind of ponder as well. What's kind of interesting too is in 1 Timothy chapter 3, it uses the word overseer there, and it kind of parallels very similarly as it does to Titus chapter 1, verse 5. And in some translations, it also uses the word bishop and stuff. So a bishop is just an overseer as well. It's the same word, but it's just translated differently. But nevertheless, when I was going through there, I was seeing the word elder, and I was thinking, what is elder? And then I kind of went around and I found these other passages to give some extra insight there. What tools do you need to answer these questions, or who can you ask? So you guys might be wondering, how did I do that little study on elders, and how did I find that passage in 1 Peter? Well, what I did is I used a Strong's Concordance. Now you can use that. You can get one that's in print, or you can get them in apps or websites and stuff like that. There's lots of them out there. If you want to find one, just do a search on the web for it, and you'll find Strong's number search tools and stuff like that there. There's lots of them there. And once you do that, you can find all the passages in the Bible where that particular word is used. And I really like to do word studies that way because it allows you to see the full breadth of how that word is expressed in its context in the Bible. I feel like that gives you a lot more understanding of the word than it does from like a 1 or 2 word definition that tends to come from like a Strong's dictionary. And in fact, like I tend not to use Strong's dictionaries too much. I tend to use something more like this. It's the New International Dictionary of New Testament Theology, abridged edition. And so what I really like about this is that it takes the Greek word and gives you the history of how it was used in classical Greek literature. It then also breaks it down and tells you how it was used in the Old Testament translations from Hebrew into Greek. And then also it shows how it was used throughout the whole New Testament. It breaks it down. It gives you lots of context. It gives you a whole bunch of synonyms of similar words as well, so you can see the exact flavor of that word compared to other similar words in the Bible. And overall, it gives you a lot better picture of what that word means. A lot of times if you just use like a Strong's dictionary or something like that, you only have 1 or 2 words, or it lists a whole bunch of different ways that word gets translated at times, it can be, you don't always get the full flavor of what that is. So something like this becomes really handy in that case. And then also, if you do use something like this, something to know is that it doesn't actually use Strong's numbers. It actually uses a different numbering system, but it has a conversion to the Strong's number in the back. So anyway, all that to be said is that if you have other questions or different thoughts or something like that, I encourage you to shoot stuff out to people in your group. If you're doing this with other people, if you're not, you're doing it as a church or something like that, send something to your pastor if you've got questions. It is a great way when you have these things that you're looking at, you don't know the answers to use the people and tools that you have around you to be able to grow closer to them and to grow closer to God. So that's it for today, and I will see you next time. This finishes off our first week, and so this is next time when we get going, we'll be starting back up, and we're going to be going through chapter 1. So super excited to do that with you, and I'll see you next time.